A silent crisis is sweeping across America, completely hidden from the public eye. Without breaking news alerts, thousands of families are suddenly disappearing from their long-term neighborhoods. While mainstream media focuses on border politics, federal agents have quietly pivoted to digital tracking and strict administrative policies to fast-track removals. One specific community is bearing the brunt of this crackdown. From local clinics to neighborhood markets, the enforcement pipeline has accelerated. Here are the top 10 U.S. cities where Filipino residents are being quietly removed in 2026. Chapter 10. Houston. The reality for immigrants in Houston has taken a sharp turn. A city that used to be a safe haven has transformed into a hub for secret deportations. Entire families of Filipino workers in logistics and healthcare are vanishing overnight without public warning, deeply shaking the community. The main catalyst has been unannounced workplace inspections. Instead of just checking basic IDs, investigators are now cross-referencing payroll records and online job listings. Consequently, Filipinos who arrived on tourist visas but stayed to work, or those who overstayed when global travel was shut down, are being actively tracked down. Federal agencies have shifted focus toward these low-risk deportations because officials claim this population complies with instructions without resistance, making them easy targets for quotas. With local medical and charity data now linked straight to immigration databases, a single paperwork issue can erase your entire future. Chapter 9. Chicago. In Chicago, the crackdown did not start with a raid. It began with an unexpected letter, a tense phone call, and then total silence. Filipino families renting apartments in neighborhoods like Albany Park and West Ridge are suddenly gone without a trace, leaving a deep void in the community. The underlying causes stem from a complex web of expired student visas and job transfers that lacked official government approval. Even more alarming is a new strategy locals call digital tracking. Public assistance programs and local medical clinics have implemented strict identity checks, sharing that data directly with immigration authorities. A minor typo in an old file is now enough to trigger a case, meaning a simple doctor's visit can put your status at risk. Enforcement agencies openly prefer processing individuals who do not create public scenes, fast-tracking removals due to a lack of expensive legal defense. In Chicago, staying quiet just makes you an easier target. Chapter 8. Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, the strategy relies heavily on undercover surveillance. Federal agents have started monitoring historic areas like Filipino Town and Koreatown under the guise of routine traffic enforcement, which quickly escalates into immediate immigration detentions. Many residents believe the city's sanctuary status would shield them, only to discover that local and federal networks still share background data behind closed doors. The surge in LA is being fueled by an aggressive push to clear out backlogged immigration courts. Local courts recently received strict federal mandates to close old files immediately, meaning long-pending asylum claims are being denied en masse without any prior notice. Former international students whose programs ended years ago are also being actively tracked down by automated systems. Federal agencies view these cases as easy wins because the individuals are typically English-speaking, have no criminal history, and possess clear family ties, turning this progressive city into a silent conveyor belt out of the country. An eerie quiet has settled over immigrant communities across Queens and the Bronx. Federal agents have started monitoring cultural festivals, neighborhood parks, and Asian supermarkets, leading to several high-profile detentions right in broad daylight. These individuals weren't hiding. They were simply trying to participate in their local communities. But now, every public gathering feels dangerous. A large percentage of those removed were actually in the middle of adjusting their legal status through family petitions or green card applications, but administrative delays left them completely exposed. These are parents, home health aides, and essential workers whose applications could not clear the bureaucratic red tape fast enough. Because New York has accelerated its internal processing speeds, many are deported before they ever get a chance to speak to a judge. To make matters worse, the city has become a test market for facial recognition software, tracking mobile healthcare workers through public transit cameras. Deportations in San Francisco do not always mirror traditional immigration raids. Many actually spark from simple tenant disputes. Filipino residents living in shared apartments or subleased rooms are finding themselves exposed after being reported by disgruntled landlords. Minor disagreements over rent delays or noise complaints are now being funneled directly into federal databases, where immigration enforcement takes over completely. A basic housing issue can quickly escalate into a life-altering deportation proceeding. The root of this problem lies at the intersection of urban gentrification and legal vulnerabilities. Property owners looking to clear out tenants use immigration status as leverage, and local eviction filings are regularly scanned for foreign-sounding names. Because many Filipino families live in multi-generational homes or informal housing arrangements, they are incredibly easy to pinpoint. In one instance, a deportation case was triggered by a simple neighborly dispute over a parking spot, proving that everyday civil issues have fed straight into the federal surveillance system. In Dallas, the atmosphere shifted dramatically without a single major news headline. The anxiety began brewing inside local hospitals and care facilities, where Filipino professionals make up a massive segment of the healthcare workforce. Nurses and medical assistants began disappearing immediately following their late-night shifts. These were not undocumented individuals living in hiding. They held official workplace IDs, paid their taxes, and maintained spotless employment histories. Yet, immigration officers began waiting outside medical facilities, specifically targeting staff members during shift changes. This sudden crackdown stems from a recent federal audit of healthcare licenses and employment contracts across regional nursing homes. Many Filipino medical workers originally arrived on temporary visas, but were misled by employment agencies that promised sponsorship but failed to follow through. The system failed to protect them, and now it is penalizing them for those exact administrative errors. This has created a hostile environment where even fully legal visa holders are terrified of routine background checks. San Diego may be famous for its beautiful coastline, but for many local immigrant families, it currently feels like a legal battleground. High-pressure enforcement actions are actively tearing households apart based on strict administrative mandates. The region is home to thousands of mixed-status families, where one parent holds legal residency and the other does not. This distinction has turned dangerous as enforcement agents stop bypassing homes where the children are United States citizens. Investigators are moving forward anyway, arriving at front doors with signed orders to separate parents from their kids. Most of these cases are tied to decades-long visa backlogs. For example, a family petition filed by a sibling over 10 years ago might still be stuck in processing, or an application for permanent residency was rejected due to a single missing signature. San Diego has become incredibly aggressive because federal agencies use the region as a testing ground for rapid deportation methods, deploying mobile processing units and digital iris scanners to flag individuals within days. Churches in the Phoenix metro area are no longer considered safe havens for those seeking shelter. For a long time, local religious institutions protected vulnerable families from immigration enforcement, and many Filipino residents relied on these sanctuaries for safety. However, federal agents recently disrupted this long-standing tradition by entering these places of worship to detain individuals who had been living inside them for months. Though video footage never leaked to mainstream media, word traveled instantly through local community networks, causing families to stop attending religious services out of sheer terror. The majority of those detained actually held temporary protections, such as deferred action or pending humanitarian waivers. However, the local political landscape shifted sharply and previous policy agreements were canceled overnight. Phoenix has shown how quickly official promises can be broken. Because many individuals turned to faith-based organizations when the legal system failed them, they became easy to locate under new rules that allow authorities to enter religious spaces without traditional warrants. While Miami's tourism industry continues to thrive, the reality for the city's Filipino workforce has grown incredibly grim over the past few months. The bustling coastal neighborhoods that rely heavily on the cruise ship industry are feeling a profound sense of loss. Countless Filipino employees working in cruise kitchens, maintenance departments, and supply warehouses have suddenly disappeared into detention facilities. Their families are left completely stranded with no explanations and no opportunity to say goodbye. This wave of sudden enforcement followed a massive federal investigation into regional employment agencies and identity documentation. Immigration authorities linked several third-party hiring firms to altered employment contracts and invalid work authorizations. Unfortunately, many unsuspecting Filipino mariners trusted these agencies implicitly, completely unaware that the businesses were under investigation. Even individuals with valid visas were caught up in the sweeping raids, as the system treated everyone with immediate distrust, using minor document discrepancies as automatic grounds for deportation. Washington, D.C. In the nation's capital, shifting political policies do not just change the law, they strike local communities like lightning. Filipino residents living in the Washington, D.C. metro area have found themselves serving as the unwitting test subjects for aggressive new federal enforcement strategies. Over the past 18 months, more than 200 individuals have been quietly removed from the region. Some had spent over a decade waiting for family reunification visas, while others were completely caught off guard by unannounced changes to employment immigration rules. There are no public demonstrations or media coverage. People are simply vanishing from a city focused entirely on political posturing. Many of those targeted were relying on established temporary protection programs, but sudden policy updates retroactively altered the eligibility requirements. This bureaucratic shift turned lawful presence into an immediate immigration violation overnight, meaning a visa that was perfectly valid a couple of years ago can suddenly be flagged as non-compliant today. Washington serves as the incubator for these high-pressure enforcement tactics, testing its most aggressive digital tracking tools on a demographic perceived as compliant and unlikely to cause a public disruption. Do you think this quiet wave of deportations is just the preliminary phase of a much larger initiative? Or do you believe there is a specific reason why federal agencies are targeting the Filipino community in these particular cities? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Also, let me know where you are watching from. Your neighborhood might be closer to one of these hubs than you realize. Don't forget to share this update with anyone who has relatives working in the United States. They need to understand these developments before it impacts their household. Thank you for tuning in, stay vigilant, and we will see you in our next update.